Hey, I'm Jeff, and this is the Indienomicon podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Kunal Patel, co-founder and organizer of Indienomicon and OMG Labs. Hey, Kunal, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. I know you're a busy guy with a lot of irons in the fire, so it's really cool to have you on to chat with the viewers and listeners about what happened this week at the May 3rd Game Dev Adventure Day and what's coming up in the future for Indienomicon and OMG Labs. So welcome and lay it on us. What's happening?
Sure. So, on the first Saturday of every month, we have a meetup at the Melrose Center, which is the second floor of the downtown library. And it's been our home for meetups almost since our founding back in 2013. And after COVID, they kind of went away, but now they're back, and we end up having talks from really high level industry folks, from engineers to people that have started companies or building games, doing demos of what they built, or doing workshops. And so it's a really great place to learn and also to network, to meet with the people that are within your skill set in industry. And I think it's always great. About 4 times a year, we do something even bigger, and we call it a mega meetup, which is a meetup of meetups. So within our region, there's a lot of other organizations that are doing really great work, creating a lot of really great things in our community, and so we have all of them there too. So it could be everything from the startup weekend organizers to Black Orlando Tech to local startups like Local Chef, people that are showcasing their games, all different kinds of organizations that you can get involved with. And so there's tables for everybody. There's talks going on, talks on AI. It's just generally something that you really should not miss, and you just simply can't get bored. There's literally everything there.
That is really cool because that seems like kind of an offshoot of, from what I understand about the game jams, in which persons who are there to create something or pitch something are often addressing an issue, providing a solution for something that might come from an entirely different discipline or an entirely different inspiration or career, whether it be like space, military, healthcare, entertainment. So
Yeah,
this cross current of ideas and influences and people helping people, it seems like what Indianomicon's kind of all about.
completely. Yeah. Over the years, the one of the core things that we realized that mattered was relationships. It's just not enough to, oh, we had pizza together once. That stuff will kind of fade away.
Pizza's pretty great.
Pizza's great.
Are you
Don't get me wrong.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah, let's not twist that. For sure, pizza's great. But when it's more than that, it becomes something even better. It becomes like, hey, let's just continue to get pizza together for years to come. When we do events, and especially when you're building something together, in a way you develop a deeper bond. And so oftentimes at our events, we see people meet their best friends like for the next several years, and that's really important. If you're going to do some of the best work of your life, make some of the most interesting things you make in your life, like you got to have relationships, and so we focus on that a lot, and that leads into the other things that we're doing, like the amazing work that you build at a game jam. It's spotlighting the power of all these major industries in our region. Or you work with somebody so amazing, they're like, I need to hire this person, or you need to come work at my company, like come be on my team. So that's like recruiting. um like all these things kind of intertwine.
That's really cool. I think that brings to attention what is not always visible to everybody. People who know, they know that,
Yeah,
or Central Florida has an incredibly thriving, strong community full of creators who are working in entertainment and theme park. And then you go a little bit east and they're launching off rockets and things like that. This is an amazing confluence of all these technologies and all this investment in innovation. And what it's not, I think, to some people is like a Seattle or or these other San Francisco, like this hub that's kind of renowned for producing big software titles and whatever. So I think in a way that's kind of our secret sauce and kind of a cool benefit is that people here feel more free to collaborate maybe or
Yeah.
or something. So that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is definitely one of the strengths that we have here.
Well, I also have, as I've been getting to know what Indienomicon is, I'm starting to understand what OMG Labs is, and then also about the different partners that OMG Labs has, from the
Yeah.
city to Space Florida to all these different organizations. Would you mind giving an overview of that?
Sure. So OMG Labs was really born out of a need that came from Indianomicon's work. So they're really sister organizations in a way. With all these game jams that were happening, whether it's Indie Galactic Space Jam or Mega Health Jam, Armed Forces Jam, what would happen is products, concepts would come out of it. Sometimes companies, and then the question was like, well, where do these people work? Are they working out of their garage? Are they just kind of meeting somewhere at a coffee shop every few weeks and then it kind of dies off? Really, they needed a place that they could work out of, and beyond just basic co-working, it should be where there's like a common thread of the technologies that they're using, the industry that they're in, and that speeds things along. And that was really important. And this kind of goes towards like almost like the fourth R of Indienomicon, which is R&D. The work that you're doing is on almost like bleeding edge frontier technologies, and it may not work or it may work. You may find some novel way to create a solution, and in order to really further that into like a real product or a real company, you need something a bit more. And so then ultimately, many years ago, we created the Orlando Game Space, and it's like a very on the nose name because it's like, where is it? It's Orlando. What do? You make games. What is it? It's space.
That's in space.
It worked because everybody could wrap their mind around it. There's a physical location, but then over time, these gaming technologies really started being used for things beyond games, for industries beyond just pure entertainment. And and then we would have these kind of conversations sometimes with customers where it's like we're not working with somebody in Orlando, and it's not necessarily a game that we're building. And so the need came up to maybe change its name. And we're working on interactive media and stuff like that. And so uh, we thought about how nobody ever says National Aeronautics Space Administration. They say NASA. So it's like, what's a unnecessarily long, obnoxious name that we can come up with that nobody should say? So it's like Orlando Media and Gaming Laboratory. No, nobody should ever say that. Like, and that would be OMG Labs. And whatever we work on is so amazing that you should look at it and go, OMG, that's amazing. And so that kind of stuck. And then that's what we rolled forward with, as this new sister organization to Indienomicon.
That's really cool. I should say now before I forget, uh, earlier at the show, we put up a QR code. Maybe we didn't even say what that was for. And now we're going to put up the QR code again. And this is what? This is a place you can go and learn about the calendar of events that are coming up
Yeah.
with OMG Labs and with Indienomicon. And so that's kind of one-stop shop for now. We might be switching to something else in the future, but for right now, that's a great place you can go.
Yeah.
So that's the future, but I want to look back to the past a little bit because you're rocking an OG
Yeah.
Indienomicon shirt. Okay,
Yeah.
give us a
This is
little bit of the history of that
sure.
shirt and maybe even Indienomicon along with it.
Sure. It's kind of like a lot of people will hear that name and they'll do a double take and they'll want to clarify, like, wait, how do I say this for sure? Like, it really, it was born back in 2013. And during that time, the culture was very much like kind of like a counterculture of like big name AAA studios. There's like a surge of indie studios, indie video game studios. Just like if you were to think like of an indie rock band, just not doing something on their own, being really cavaliers, in how they're building things. And so at that time, a lot of us, the co-founders of Indienomicon, met each other at a game jam, which is a 48-hour event where we kind of like make a game really fast together and we rapid prototype. But anyways, we met all these people and we're like, wow, I didn't even know you existed. I didn't know you lived, like 10 minutes from me. So we met each other and we're like, wow, how do we keep this going? And, as we chatted with each other, we thought about like, well, it'd be cool if we had, some kind of convention or something like that, maybe in a year or two, where we showcased all these games. And then we thought about this book that was called the Necronomicon. It was the book of all things, and it was kind of like, um, and we're like, okay, well, what if we call this thing Indienomicon, the Book of Indie? And it kind of stuck. And we started doing meetups, and people started showing up, and it stuck like that. And so part of that led to the creation of this shirt, which was, the little logo. The logo's name is Replay, and it's a book, the Book of Indie, and it was where your heart is supposed to be. So it's like you have the heart of an indie, which in some way, I guess at the time we felt like, oh, this is like a pure person, like a pure person who
Mhm.
like cares about creativity and building something cool and interesting, and that part of the culture is still important to this day. When you look at all the major industries we're working with, not to say that it's not important to be professional, but like you sometimes end up with so much red tape and bureaucracies that you don't actually build things fast enough or meaningful enough, um, or maybe with enough intention on being prompt about things. And and so part of this is like bringing that heart of indie game developers to these major industries, like health and space and defense and entertainment, and it can bring about new solutions. Things that may not get made for years probably get made in 48 hours. You can tackle a problem, get to 80% of something really fast. And so that's where we've transitioned to, is like really solving major problems within major industry using gaming tech, and something that's kind of been perfected by game developers.
Yeah, it's really cool because obviously we're establishing that we kind of have our feet on the ground, where it's kind of a grassroots, it's a collaborative, innovative group that's indie, but there's so many ties into big corporations, big organizations that depend on the free thinkers that aren't necessarily solving the same problems they've been addressing in that industry year after year, decade after decade, or they aren't tied to a 10-year project or something like
Right.
that. So that's really cool, the partnership between big business, big corporations, big organizations. And I love it. Like, also the age too. Like, let's say right now that you think, I don't know if Indianomicon's for me because I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm this, I'm that. It's for you
Yeah.
because if you've got ideas up in your brain or you want to share ideas or support other people's ideas, I come from the improv world, we call that yes and, then it's for you. You can come in and be, I think, somebody was telling me about like a 12-year-old person who came in, was working on a game and created some great ideas and helped move the ball forward on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we first started, maybe initially we weren't thinking like, yeah, we're gonna have 12-year-olds and we're gonna have like 75-year-olds, like, but that's what happened. What happens is you end up having people that are, you know, really passionate about like this kind of technology or solving problems, um, ambitious, or just want to do something cool. And it just happened that 16-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds would sometimes like get in and they'd sign up, or maybe their parents would come drop them off. And when you're forming these teams, you'll have somebody that's there from Microsoft or Google, or somebody that's been at Lockheed Martin, and they're in their 60s. They've been there and done that, and they've done so many things, and they somehow will end up on a team together. And
Yeah,
some way
that's
they end
really
up,
cool.
yeah, they end up helping each other out. And oftentimes it surprises all of us that, one, this really young, you know, uh, developer with like fresh ideas and everything is getting, mentorship from somebody who has a lot of experience. But even the elder will like have like new energy, because they're working with somebody new, and they're like, well, I didn't even think of that. It helps out really everybody.
That's really great. That's really great. So, looking forward to the future or this year, not only do we have these game dev adventure days, mega meetups, But obviously, we have the game jams. There's the Mega Health Jam, the Intergalactic Space Jam. There's an All Hallows Eve Jam. These really cool events. So those are all coming up, and they'll be on the calendar. If you
Yeah.
go to the link we're going to post in comments or scan that QR code, you're going to find those. But also, you have great relationships and are growing those relationships with some of the big companies that are relying on our developers to use their software. Companies like Unreal, companies like Unity. And so, we're working kind of hand in hand with those folks to share ideas and share members to jump over and use their
Yeah.
tools and use our ideas.
Absolutely. I think this is why, we ended up having like these 4 R's of like relationships, recruiting, R&D, and a regional spotlight. And all of those things together, when we weave them together the right way, we create a lot of impact. And working with these, frontier level technologies, we can create brand new solutions that people haven't seen yet, but it's totally necessary to have, to progress how we live and how we, are productive. I think that matters a lot. And it's both scary and exciting to know that people could fall totally flat on their face when they're building something. And this is a safe place to do that. Maybe in your regular 9 to 5, you can't necessarily do that. Here you can be very experimental and work on those things. And oftentimes at these jams, we will have new technologies, new hardware that many people aren't using on a regular basis or haven't done so yet, or maybe haven't used it in a novel way. And that could be brand new VR headsets or AR glasses, or some kind of full body suit for haptics that could be used in healthcare or in defense. And then there's people that will make a regular console game or a mobile game or a desktop game with a controller. Like, the mediums in which people are working can be all different kind of things. And the thing is, people will learn from each other. They'll see like, oh, that was a cool project there. I never even thought about that. And you'll see this real-time butterfly effects, essentially.
Hmm. I love the collaboration too. Uh, Teams that are developing games, most people maybe they imagine that it's just a bunch of people coding. No, you've got artists, you got sound effects creators, you got people recording lines of dialogue, you've got somebody writing. It's an
Yeah.
ensemble of people with all these different disciplines coming together to make it happen. So that's something I just think is so awesome about it.
Yeah.
The way it's almost like a Swiss Army knife. That's not one individual could do it all. They rely on these other people to bring it all together. And I see that in the game jams happening. It's
Yeah.
cool.
That's the coolest part. People from all different, skill sets and backgrounds, like working together and finding a way to work together. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But like, when you see the people come back to multiple jams, now you see them in a flow. Now you see them being able to adapt. They adapt faster. They work on things, in a different way. They learn to be faster. They work on the fly, and that's cool to see too. And yeah, you'll end up seeing also even the need for having a team that is very diverse too, because you'll sometimes see a team where there's like 3 programmers and a designer, but no artists. And then they're like trying to figure things out. And maybe sometimes that creates a novel solution, but they'll ask for a call for help, saying like, hey, we need an artist to help us with this. One of our programmers can come over to your team and help you with that. So you see even an exchange of talent.
Wow, you don't see that in like the NBA or
No,
you guys got a power forward you can put on our
lend
team for
over
the
for like,
second.
a couple hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I've also noticed, and it's my optimistic idea that I can participate, is you need game testers too. So you could be a bonehead like me who can't code C# for out of my paper bag, but you can sit down
Yeah.
and test the game, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
On that Sunday, there's people that are finishing and they want people to try something out. And you can come by and play that and test it.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool.
The pizza's going to be cold,
Yeah.
but I mean, you're, you're still part of the team. So
You're the part of
I
the
know
team.
you. I know you're a busy, dude. So we've talked a little bit about the Game Dev Adventure Day that happened over the weekend. We talked a little bit about the future. We'll put a calendar up of the dates that we have, and then we'll, put that QR code back up so you can click on that and go to the dates, and not just go there, but register so we know you're coming. And if you want to sign
Yeah.
up to speak or to participate, you can do that at that link too. Grateful for those who have subscribed or following this podcast and who are interested in learning more about Indienomicon and OMG Labs and the future that we have in store, not just for this year, but beyond. And also know that we're going to be talking with cool people, not just, guys, awesome guys like Kunal, who are kind of in the world. We're going to be bringing people from outside of the world, like folks who work at some of these AAA game companies or people who make the game engines like Unity, Unreal. And we're going to be asking them what they have cooking up, because we do have Unreal Fest coming here to Orlando this summer, and I know that's a big of engine of use for a lot of our listeners. So not just us getting high on our own supply talking about Indienomicon, but also bringing in ideas from all the other people out there in the world. So Kunal, thanks so much for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you at a game jam coming up.
Likewise, you'll definitely see me there. And thanks for having me, Jeff.